Here are my thoughts on Solasta Crown of the Magister Early Access, you dungeon-dwelling bastards. Note that this is paid review, but that won't affect my judgment at all. I am always honest with my viewers, and this is no exception. I give you my thoughts and you can agree or disagree. Remember that every review or impression video is subjective, and that I'm not Dungeons & Dragons veteran, as my knowledge of Dungeons & Dragons systems and universe is very limited. Solasta is available on Steam, so check out the link in the description if you want to purchase the game. This is still early access game and we can play till the start of Act 2, which is around 10 to 15 hours of content depending on your understanding of D&D 5th edition mechanics and also your pace of play. Solasta Early Access went live sometime around Baldur's Gate 3 Early Access, and both are based on Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition ruleset, but Solasta clearly has much smaller budget. However, in classic RPGs, graphics and production quality is not that important. What matters is gameplay, combat, story, writing, characters and utilization of Dungeons & Dragons mechanics. Let's start with story and writing. Story revolves around mysterious crown and lizard-like creatures. I like mystery, so this type of story suits me, even though it is clear that ideas have been taken from Lord of the Rings a bit. Doesn't bother me as long as it is interesting, and it is. Basically, whole story so far is a mystery one. Mysterious crown, mysterious enemies, mysterious NPCs that have no memory, and so on. Writing is simple. There aren't walls of text explaining every little thing, which I like. Dialogue is short and to the point, with added personality traits, which I find fantastic. Each character in your party has personality traits that can affect outcome of conversation and role options differently. Some options are hilarious, some really dark, some provoking, and that is why I was invested in conversations more than usual. Usually my mind wanders off after some time in RPGs, but not in Solasta.
Nothing to do with drudges like us.
You thought it would be the princess?
If she rules the whole principality, who's more important?
Lady Keen, the council's oathkeeper, is trusted by all.
Lord Karen.
Yes, my lady. Instead,
There's also 6 factions and reputation system. By giving these factions what they require, your reputation raises, which unlocks better gear at faction vendors. I love the idea of scavengers specifically. Every time you leave any location, scavenger faction goes to it, picks up all the stuff left behind, takes it all back to their HQ, lets you have first pick of stuff you want to keep, and rest gets sold by scavengers while you keep some of the profit. Some of the factions are quite interesting, and we'll see how far this faction system goes in full release. Solasta is more combat-focused classical RPG, something like what Icewind Dale is to Baldur's Gate. I love that, cause I can never have enough of it. It is so much fun controlling Dungeons & Dragons characters with all their spells, powers and other options in combat. Combat is turn-based, and you have almost everything you would want in Dungeons & Dragons game. What I applaud here is transparency. In combat log you can scroll over almost anything with dice roll explanations. Why is there advantage or disadvantage, DC rolls, etc. Everything is here, so people like me with limited Dungeons & Dragons knowledge can understand better what is happening and why. On the battlefield there are lines showing line of sight, cover options, path your character takes, so overall user interface is good. Even though I enjoy combat in Solasta a lot, there are things I don't like. First of all, option to turn off combat grid should be already in the game. It kills immersion and I don't see it as necessary at all. Same like green circles beneath characters. Oh, the horror. Please give us an option to remove it. Another thing I have noticed is lack of flanking and elevation advantage bonuses like we have in Baldur's Gate 3. D&D with D20 is in my opinion too random and I am not a fan of it, so by not having these bonuses combat can sometimes turn into frustrating encounters, even with all the buffs and debuffs. I would also like movement speed to be increased in combat, especially for sneaking. Another thing that I'm on fence about are reaction pop-ups. For example, when enemy wants to move away, they trigger attack of opportunity. Game then offers a pop-up screen so you can decide if you want to attack the enemy or save attack of opportunity for another enemy that round. Same thing for other toggled abilities like Paladin's Smite. Even though that is great in a way because you have complete control of the situation, it is still immersion breaking. Overall, I think combat is really good, and these minor gripes can be easily fixed and most likely will be.
Kill them all! Yeah!
When it comes to classes, there are 6 basic choices in early access, with each having its own subclasses. I have no idea how many more classes will be added in the full game, but for early access this is enough. Solasta has limited Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition license, however, meaning things are a little bit different, from names to other details. Since I don't know D&D that well, to me this isn't a big deal at all. What I've seen so far offers a lot in terms of character builds. I'm curious though if there will be multi-classing options in full release. I like the fact we can create in early access full custom party with some ridiculous personality combinations that can lead to very fun dialogue choices. Locations in the game are fairly interesting with some puzzles added into the mix. Magic Tower, Underground Library, Undead Fortress. There is enough diversity to keep the game interesting, and since this is D&D there is plenty of enemy variety, even though it is less than some other D&D video games. But it's still early access, so I'm guessing there is going to be even more variety in full release. Size of these locations can vary from small to large with additional areas. Game has decent environment that does its job, so these locations don't look bland and boring. Far from spectacular, but it does the job. Solasta uses dreaded Unity engine, which definitely shows, but in my opinion it does the job for the most part. What stood out the most to me are enemy models. They really look fantastic. Armor sets and weapons too. I'm quite surprised that they managed to make it look so good. However, faces look awful. It breaks immersion a bit during dialogues and cutscenes. It is funny at times even how bad these faces and grimaces are. Locations look decent graphically with enough detail but nothing spectacular. Not much else to say about it. Considering this is indie game with Unity engine, overall I am happy with graphics. Good thing in RPGs is that graphics don't matter at all. Audio work is both good and bad. Music is phenomenal. I love it in the background, perfect balance in not being intrusive while adding brilliant atmospheric notes. Sound effects are average, nothing brilliant while not being bad. Worst part are the voiceovers. Mostly it is mediocre with some really bad ones that don't suit races at all.
Halt! Do you seek entrance to our fair valley?
Honestly, I would prefer no voiceovers at all in this case. They don't add anything, but take away from the experience instead. Overall, I had really fun time with Solasta. Most of the bad things are easily fixed and will be most likely. By reading experiences of people more familiar with D&D 5th edition, conclusion seems to be that Solasta is faithful representation of 5th edition with lots of quality of life improvements that make gameplay better. Full release could be something really special as long as team continues listening to feedback and keep at it like they have so far. It doesn't have production or graphics like Baldur's Gate 3, but it doesn't have to for it to be fun and enjoyable, which it definitely is. My score for Early Access Solasta is 7 out of 10, which translates to good game. This time I won't include potential like I usually do, since this is Early Access and not full game, so potential for Early Access is not relevant. I have to see full release to understand this game's full potential, but so far things look great for Solasta Crown of the Magister. Thanks for watching and see you soon, you role-playing bastards.